The amount of amazing tech events that are happening in Toronto over the last couple of days. I mean, I was just down at there's a blockchain event that's the last 2 days. It was on Monday and Tuesday. I know tomorrow's, I think, the start of DX3, or DX3 as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. But the one thing I'll say is for you guys in the back, you're more than welcome to sit in the front. We're not going to bite. We keep this very, very personal. And what I really like with this, it's almost like a Q&A session. Almost like when we do our lunch and learns, you really can ask questions. You know, again, don't be shy. The closer you get, you know, it's all about relationships. It's all about asking questions. We've always been known as the intimate group where we can answer your questions and get everything done. There we go. Not shy. What this? There's no point sitting in the back and just hiding. I'd like to make sure that you guys all get your questions answered. So with that being said, we have a bunch of lunch and learn sessions that are going to be coming up over the next little bit. They'll be announced in the newsletter that's going out tomorrow. March is kind of a weird month because I know a lot of our speakers and a lot of our members are actually away on vacation or off the trade shows or doing their pitch competitions. So with that being said, just keep a mind open that we have Mentorship Mondays here at Spaces, which is a phenomenal space. If you ever want to get a chance to look around or get a tour, let me know. I'm more than happy to arrange something directly for you guys so you can actually see the multiple floors. The 7th floor is kick-ass. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a large event space with a full patio as well, so you can actually walk outside. Great view of the city. I mean, unbelievable view of the city. Other things that will be happening in the next little bit will be announced directly on their website and upcoming newsletter as well. So we're just going to dive on in, and we're really happy today to have a little bit more interactive session talking about AI. And that's why when these gentlemen came to me, and thanks so much for Faraz for coming and talking a little bit more about your company, and it completely intrigued me yesterday. So I thought, oh my God, it's really cool to talk, you know. So let's just dive on in. So tell me a little bit more about you guys and what your backgrounds are, and then we'll dive in a little bit more about the company.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having us. So my background is actually on the non-technical side. So my background is actually in advertising. I spent about 6 years working in an agency called Ascent as the senior strategist managing data-driven strategies for TD, BMW, and Sick Kids. And then I wanted to shift my focus from being on the advertising side to being more on the tech AI side. Yeah, so that's my background.
For myself, so I have a very, I think, uncommon background for people in machine learning or AI industry.
Okay.
I have a comp sci degree, but after graduating, I went into software consulting.
Mm-hmm.
So I did software implementation within computerized maintenance management systems.
Mm-hmm.
That allowed me to travel the world, implemented software for industries like oil and gas, public works, construction, and it was great. Travel kind of wore on me, and eventually decided to come back home and got a job here in Toronto within product management of a CRM company.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gave me, you know, the look into UI, UX development, understanding customer-centric developments, why it's important to reach out to your customers and understand their needs.
Mm-hmm.
And from product management, that led me into kind of data science, learning the fundamentals of data science, and now I'm here today.
Oh, cool. So can you guys actually tell us exactly what your company does? So what is Gradient Ascent?
Sure. So Gradient Ascent, I think, is an overall picture, our vision. So we're planning for tomorrow, and in 10 years we see all companies having some sort of AI involved.
Okay.
Whether that's visible to the customers and employees or not, it's going to be somehow implemented within that company.
Okay.
And so what we do is we go to companies of today and see how we can prepare them for the vision of tomorrow.
That's really cool.
So those people that don't have any AI today or any sort of machine learning, how do we get them set up on their first project and get them started into kind of that vision that we have, that everyone's using AI or machine learning in some way.
So you have the base background, you have the marketing front end to really understand the potentials and where things can go.
Right.
What do you see as the potentials of AI in a company, and what have excited you guys both right now from what you've seen through your consulting and everything else?
So one of the problems that which we are actually trying to solve for our clients is we're trying to predict if an employee will come into work. So what that means is we are saying if Faraz will how likely is he likely going to be coming to work for the next few weeks? And our prediction is at 79%. So what that's going to help is that's going to help our clients to see for resource management, for project management, just to get the sheer visibility to see if how much resources do we need for the upcoming project, for example, right? So those are kind of the problems which we are tackling right now.
Okay. And what have you seen as when you went through the pitches and you see these really good implementations of AI? What would be the best case studies or the most interesting things for yourself that you see right now?
For myself, I think healthcare is a crazy spot to be in from a machine learning and AI perspective.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that like being able to take x-rays of lungs over time and then using predictors to have early prediction of lung cancer based just on x-rays. So you have your diagnosis of what it is today by a doctor who's just actually looking at that, but building out these advances within machine learning and AI and being able to see the stuff that maybe the human eye is not able to actually see and be able to provide that feedback. Like it's really changing the industries that we see today, whether it be healthcare, whether it be software services, products. I mean, it's endless.
Cool. Sure. So with yourself on the marketing end right now, have you seen any companies that are really implementing AI in really smart and unique ways that really, really pop out?
Absolutely, because so while I was doing advertising, we were trying to really drive the email content to be very relevant and very also very timely as well. So one of our sister agencies was using a machine learning algorithm to not only to send out the email, but as someone who is opening up the email, it will automatically pull the actual email copy plus the creative as well as all the segmentation rules, for example. So just to give you an example, so say if I'm in Toronto and it's raining or snowing, then it's going to show you a creative or a copy based on that. Say it's snowing, hey, like go to Starbucks and you can warm yourself up with a latte, for example. Or if someone opens up the same email in Vancouver and it's sunny, then it's probably going to show you the email content based on go to the beach, or you can go to the Mech and you can buy a bicycle for the summer and whatnot, right? So like those are the very cool applications, because what that does is that's going to help the companies deliver the right content at the right time as well, and to the right people as well.
So it's using AI and using personalization and making it's making it really, really, really speak to the individual.
Absolutely.
On the marketing end.
Absolutely. Because I think gone are the days where you just develop one creative and then send it out to everybody, right? Like now it's all about developing multiple creatives and sending it to multiple people. So it's becoming hyper personalized, not only just because not only based on your location, but also with a variety of factors. Those are the cool things I've seen.
I think also from so I come from a background of software subscription, and so software subscription are very much sign up, free 30-day trial, and then try to convert that into a full paid subscription. And I'm very much guilty of signing up for software and having no intention whatsoever to buy that software. And so where AI can help sales team is target those customers that are more likely to convert into to an actual subscription. So based on predictors, whether validation of their email, validation of the phone number, have they done certain things within that software, being able to predict and give a score to customers on their likelihood to predict, then your sales team can then hone in on those people and convert them into a subscription versus trying to get myself, who have absolutely no intention of converting. So. Yeah.
So really going through all the data and understanding who's a potential customer and who's not a potential customer.
Absolutely, yeah.
So with what you're doing right now with Ready and Ascent, what have you seen? So let's say you're about to pitch to a client, someone's looking to implement an AI platform within their company or use AI in one way or another. What would the things that you tell them that you really need to do when it comes down to the amount of information in, so you don't have the garbage in, garbage out? What would you tell them that you need a certain amount of data sets? Do you go in and say, these are the ideal scenarios, this is really what it can do, what it cannot do?
I think it's a big part is education.
Yeah.
First step is usually brainstorming with the customer to say, what what do you actually want to do? What are some of the ideas? Don't give me one, give me multiple.
Okay.
Get all the ideas out on the table, and like these are from the obvious to the outrageous of
Yeah.
you know everything under the sun that they can think of, and based on those we can then assess the size of those projects and choose a small and very focused project, so that you know maximizes your success because it's not very complex.
Okay.
Another big thing that we do is define success. So I think one of the big things is that people using AI or machine learning, they want to build a model that's 100% accurate. And like that's not the case. It's never the case.
Yeah.
In certain industries and certain scenarios, like an accuracy of 30 to 40% is like phenomenal.
Yeah.
So really defining success and what success means to that customer
Okay.
is great. And then also the notion that iterating is part of the process.
Yeah.
Getting one of these projects out into production and then going back and iterating and improving that project is just part of the process. You're not going to get it right the first time, so get something out there and then iterate on it.
Well, the questions I would have right now with AI as well is, it's fine and dandy, it sounds really cool, it's the buzzwords, but then on the flip side of all the cool things with AI, there's all the problems. And when it comes down to the biases within the data sets and everything else coming out. So how would you prevent any kind of proper bias sets? I mean, I remember a case study over a little while ago that we were talking about crime within a certain area. And the whole issue with that crime, it was just so happens, it's not just the fact that the people live there, it's, you don't want to be blatantly to say, this is what's happening in this area, this is the cause and effect. You have, because again, the data sets being put in, and they're also being put in with certain biases.
Yeah.
So how do you go in and foresee as you're building out to prevent any forms of biases?
I mean, the biggest way is like a first step of exploratory data analysis. Going in there, looking at your data set, properly analyzing it, and determining whether or not that data set is representative of the population.
Okay.
If you realize that that data set has bias in it, that it's very specific, it's one of those things that you can bring up to the customer and kind of have those hypotheses that maybe this isn't representative of the population, and these are the outcomes as a result.
Okay. So it's not always just a cause and effect. Sometimes it's cause and effect based on the data that's put in. So you have to make sure you have a large enough data set that's varied, as opposed to something that's a little bit more just, this is what I got.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's okay to say that this is impossible.
Okay.
Like, it's okay to accept the fact that, no, we don't have enough data to make this a success.
Yeah.
I think that's just the realization of the process of some things will fail.
Yeah.
And being able to flag that failure like further before you get further down along the project is kind of, you know.
So early in the pipe versus later on when you're really stuck down.
Exactly.
So what have you, let's say we sit down with a company, they want to start implementing, what are some of the checklists that you would have for them to really start saying, you know what, this is how we can prepare yourself. You know, typically in marketing, you would have a creative brief, this is what you would want. What would you be doing with a company that really wants to start implementing something unique? Maybe it's geolocations, maybe it's almost like an Uber app where you're trying to get the drivers within a certain area, maybe it's, you know, looking over documentation and trying to find certain patterns within, let's say, a government contract or a legal contract. What would you sit down and how do you work with that process?
I think so gathering a list of all the data that they have.
Yeah.
With that list of data sets, then you get into your exploratory data analysis and be able to pare down what you have to what you actually need.
Yeah.
From exploratory data analysis, you get into feature engineering of what features can we create from the data that you have.
Okay.
And then from feature engineering, you get into the actual model building.
Okay.
Model building is going to be iterative, of course, and you can always go back, add more features, build a model, and see the results.
Okay.
So that's really getting into the iterative process, and then from the model building, you get into productionization.
Oh, okay.
Of that.
And let's say a person comes to you and they want to get it done. What's maybe the time frame in order? You know, in some project you can say, okay, we're sitting down, we can knock off a certain project within about 3-4 weeks. The fact that you're adding this algorithms and you're developing it and you're trying to teach it, how much longer does that add directly to a project typically?
I think it really depends, based on the project. Like, how much of a revisions we do is, it generally adds a bit more time to the project. I think it really depends on the project.
Yeah, the data set size as well. Some
Yeah,
customers,
right, exactly.
we have, you know, we have it where they have, you know, like 500 features. features.
Mhm.
But then someone else, they might have 50,000 features.
Yeah.
So the time to analyze those 300 features is
Yeah.
obviously going to be less than
Mhm.
analyzing something with 50,000 features.
Okay, fair. So through the process right now, what, with all the data that, I guess the jobs that you've been working on, with your experience in the background, within the marketing end, within Cossette, you must have seen some amazing things that were within the machine learning kind of environment.
Sure.
What were the things that really stood out, or even potentials of things that could be coming out on the marketing end?
Right,
on the
on
smart
marketing
tech
end,
side?
right. So I think what I found was like everyone has big data, everyone has all these data, right?
Yeah.
But nobody knows what to do with it. Especially some of the bigger clients I've worked with, we knew to the T that you have opened this email, you've gone to the site, you have submitted the application, but that data's kind of just gone away. I think what's going to be is like as these agencies and brands and whatnot, I think they would really look into kind of using that data, which I don't think none of the agencies are doing. There's so much data in terms of like so minute data. I think that's going to
Yeah.
be the biggest trend. What I'll see, very like hyper specific marketing,
Mhm.
and not just sending out to everybody, but being very specific to who you send out to. So I think that would be the biggest trend. I see.
Okay. Within, I guess, with yourself being more of the data guy in the back end, who have you seen in the Toronto area that's in the AI space right now that's doing really good at, you could actually say that's awesome.
I mean, like, so one company which just got acquired,
Yeah.
I forget the name now. They got acquired by Instant. Do you know who they're?
I was thinking layer 6.
Layer 6.
I was
is
just gonna say
another one.
Layer 6,
Layer
yeah.
6, they were acquired by TD.
JD, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So two companies. One, Layer 6. They're fintech, really driving insights based
Yeah.
on financial transactions.
Okay.
And they were a consultant to several key financial players.
Yeah.
And basically, TD came in and said, "All right,
I
you're
like
ours."
this.
Yeah. I feel so bad that I forget this other company. They were an online grocery retailer,
Mhm.
and they were just acquired by Instant, which is an American
Mhm.
online retailer.
Okay.
And so their space is online grocery retailing, but when you purchase a product, one of their key differentiators is they provide great recommendations.
Okay.
So you add a product, and then they recommend, oh,
Yeah.
you added avocados to your
Yeah.
grocery cart. Why don't you look at tomatoes,
Yeah.
onions,
Mhm.
tortilla chips?
Okay.
So driving those recommendations based on
Interesting.
what you've actually selected to add to your grocery cart.
Okay. I just want to keep it, because I think everyone's kind of humming and thinking and everything else, I definitely want to keep it a little bit more interactive.
Sure.
So instead of asking too many questions on the data sets and everything else, I want you guys to really start chiming in. So before I do that, I just want to ask one question. From what you've seen right now through Cassette and what you've seen through your, I guess, your average day, what would the biggest piece of advice you would have for an average startup that wants to start implementing AI? Sorry.
Yeah, I think really try to understand what kind of data do you have, but also I think like there's so much buzz about AI and then what that means,
Yeah.
like really understand, do you really need an AI machine learning and whatnot solutions at all, right?
Mhm.
Because you might not need it. It could just be a simple business intelligence tools or whatever, right? So like really try to define what your end goal is and then work towards that. You might not really need an AI solution. I think there's so much buzz in the city and there's so much about AI. Like everyone's like, what's my AI strategy? Like we should be doing this, we should be doing that. So I think that would be my recommendation.
Sure, yourself?
We were talking about this earlier today, actually, about like diversity in the team.
Yeah.
Of like having people with different backgrounds that bring different perspectives
Mhm.
to your company.
Mhm.
If you have, everyone coming from the same background,
Mhm.
you tend to not get that different perspective.
Mhm.
So ensuring
It's the
you-
biases and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So ensuring that you have a diverse environment that you are working in, that is collaborative,
Mhm.
ensures that like the ideas keep flowing and that they're different. They're not all
Yeah.
the same ideas.
Good question. It's a good suggestion. So anybody else that has any questions, let's just dive in right now. Forget anything really being really formal. Do you have any questions on AI, on the development, what's needed, how to get it done?
Yeah.
There we go.
So speaking with John, I think we call My questions will be less technical, will be more on, I guess, for you in terms of marketing and B2B.
Sure.
So I have a few questions, but I'll start and I'll let you go ahead.
Sure. Yeah.
Go for it.
So you made a point, the most recent point, about how companies or startups need to be like, hey, do I need AI or not?
Sure.
So what are you guys doing around, let's say, value-based content to just give to, through your company? You say, hey, we'll write blog posts, hey, let's make some videos, hey, let's get on Reddit.
Sure.
Are you guys doing anything to push value so people can, when they find you,
Sure.
aren't thinking, hey, do I need AI? They can read a blog post. It's like, hey, does your company need AI? And
Absolutely.
so are you guys doing anything in terms of that? Like, how's that whole process?
Absolutely. So that's a very good. That's a very good question. So in marketing and advertising, it's all about how you present your brand and your story, right? So as you get out there more, just also like putting out other content, then you are, unfortunately, the more you're out there, then you're more and you're more perceived as an expert, right? So we are definitely exploring avenues to put out content. So we are exploring avenues to put out blog posts, video content as well. So yeah, so we're definitely exploring that.
Yeah, go.
So, as you pointed out, that AI is the buzzword and everyone's all excited about it. Have you found that possible pushback in terms of even getting customers into the sales funnel who are not on the technical side, or possibly maybe of the older crowd, right?
Absolutely, yeah, for
Honest
sure.
about it. And is that a challenge that you just leave us alone as alright, fine, this is probably what we're not gonna get? Or in terms of how do you go about getting someone like that who is just totally oblivious to what AI is?
So as, do you want to go?
We're not
So as you mentioned earlier, so like I think one of the biggest proponent which we do is we educate individuals, right? So we educate and train. So like we see AI having an impact in everything and everything, so, right? Like any business, any software companies, non-software companies are going to be touched by AI. So one of the things which we do is we educate and train individuals. So we really take a non-technical approach to really tell them, hey, like, what is your end goal? What are you trying to achieve? And then we take a non-technical approach to train them on AI solutions. We haven't had a lot of pushback from people just because that now, yes, AI is a buzzword, but also like everyone's trying to implement as well. So we have definitely had very good conversations with people in terms of like education and training.
Yeah, I think like education, I think is the number one there. I think why it's the buzzword is that what we found is several of these companies that have never implemented AI have models today, but they're in an Excel file,
Right.
or they're some code that some summer student wrote that no one has no idea how it works, and they no longer work there, but they don't want to touch that. And going in there and educating them on like, there's a different way we can build models now that might give you different insights than what you currently have, and then educating them of like, we don't have to revamp everything. Let's take a small chunk, see how it compares to what you have today, and does it do better? Does it outperform of what you have today? And if so, then like, okay, implement that, move on to the next one. What else do you have? What else do you want to do? So it's like tackling the small first project to kind of get their feet wet and understand how it works and what the possibilities are.
So do you find the trends again with AIs right now, and I think you pointed on to it before, is the fact that most companies, almost everybody right now, has so much data.
Yeah.
There is so much data being generated, and we're just trying to figure out what the heck to do with it, and really what does it all mean?
Sure.
Because we're being bombarded nonstop with, from all forms of analytics being thrown at us, website information, data from sales, and you're like, yeah, this is really cool, but then really, what does it mean?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Our monthly sales is up,
Right.
but then all of a sudden we're selling these kind of blue shoes.
Right.
And then why are we selling the blue shoes? We need the information for that. Now, is it just because something's happening or there's some events, or you want to understand that kind of base information?
For sure, right? Because like like up until now, like it's always been like big data, like let's collect it and whatnot, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like I think now most firms are realizing, okay, so we hold these data, like what do we do with it, right?
Yeah.
I think that seems to be the biggest proponent now, just companies like just figuring out like, hey, we have these data, but now what do we do with it? Like, what does
Yeah.
it mean, right? So definitely agree that this is definitely the big, very big proponent now.
Yeah. And you think that also helps in the fact that years ago you always had these, you had tons of employees that were analysts that were going in and diving in, trying to make sense of all this. Now that with the machine learning, with AI and everything else, as it starts progressing, it's actually combining the information in easy dashboards that anybody or any layman can really now truly understand, as opposed to having to dive in and having someone to manipulate the data all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another point on that is like within machine learning and AI, and I mean a subset of that you get into deep learning and neural networks and things like
Yeah.
that. These type of networks kind of learn and tell you what's important.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people may build models and say, this feature I'm going to weigh it, 50% more than these features,
Yeah.
which might necessarily not be the case.
Yeah.
So with machine learning and AI, you can get feedback to say what's important and what's
Mhm.
not important.
Yeah.
What's actually driving these trends versus not driving these trends.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, so to touch on the gentleman in the front said about sales, which
Sure.
is my segue. So I'm wondering, because you don't have to give me your insider backroom information, but, so you do a lot of education, obviously.
Right.
It's AI, you're in the niche market, you need to educate the customer because you want to go through all this way. So I'm interested into how your sales funnel starts. Like, is there cold calling? Is there cold emailing? How are you even finding customers? Is someone going out and saying, okay, companies X to Y
Sure.
need AI,
Sure.
and then you go into, okay, do they have big data? Are they a small sample size? I know that's an issue. And then as you're educating, what is even the timeline on closing a customer or a new client?
Sure.
Because I know, let's say for myself, it can take a couple months
Mhm.
on something even like a mobile app. So I can imagine that maybe AI through the whole education and documentation, what is that? How long, I guess, would that process be, and how refined do you guys have it already, where it's like, okay, this is our process every day, A, B, C, D, and it kind of functions.
Sure, yeah. So up until now, like most of our clients have been through referral.
Okay.
Just because CEO Monish, he's highly connected with the tech space. So like most of our clients have been through referral, but also we are implementing plans for cold calling,
And that part, I guess, is
Sure.
all internal.
Yep.
And I guess the main thing is like, because preparing for something so specific and saying, hey, maybe we have proprietary software that does this. Hey, your company X, we know exactly that we can do this right now, tomorrow.
Right.
Things like that, I guess, are probably in the pipeline, but maybe challenges that you guys face. It's a little harder to package something up as opposed to, hey, let me build you an MVP and launch your app that looks like Uber. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's
for
more
sure.
in depth. So.
I think that's the biggest thing is like, as mentioned, is some people don't want it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can see potential in the company.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
getting in and like speaking with the right people and educating them
Yeah.
is been the biggest.
Mhm.
It's time consuming, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
and
yeah, just reaching out.
yeah, referrals have been like, a guy
Yeah.
who says, oh, I know these guys doing lunch and learns for
Mhm.
organizations, like, yeah.
So yeah, like I've also just been like reaching out to people just on LinkedIn and just the sheer amount of people have said just, hey, like let's just grab a coffee and then we'll see what we can do.
Do you find that kind of, like, I'm kind of more against too many in-person meetings. I
Yeah.
find it a bit of a waste of time, to be
Right,
honest.
yeah,
like,
for sure, definitely.
But I can imagine that people kind of want that face-to-face. Like,
Yeah, for sure. Like for me, it's more about building the relationship first, and then you set the business relationship after. Like for me, like I'm always very just looking to build relationship first, and then kind of sell your solution. So I find it that it's useful to go for coffees. Probably not necessarily good in the long run.
Yeah.
Like right, you can probably have like five cup of coffee a day, right?
Yeah.
But definitely not more than that.
Yeah.
But definitely it might not be feasible in the long run. But for now, I think just because most of our clients are through referral because the person I would meet, they would know someone who would know someone, kind of a thing. So that's kind of how we've been working for them.
Cool. Does anyone else have any questions before I start picking on people and saying, hey, do you have a question? Do you have a question? Do you have any questions? No?
Alright,
Yeah, go.
I remember a few years ago
Yeah.
with the explosion of social media, and everyone was looking at in terms of Facebook and Twitter and in terms of tweets and getting followers and so forth.
Mhm.
And then when Facebook had their IPO, the question kind of came out as especially when the price dropped right afterwards,
Mhm.
was that okay, fine? How does this earn us money?
Mhm.
That question is that how everyone's talking about social media, but with that we should have it, but yet we have absolutely no idea how to monetize it.
Mhm.
So you as the AI expert now, how do you sort of not fall into that trap, especially with the buzzword and stuff? I like what you said in terms of you define what success is, which especially in a consultancy type of field, extremely important. And
Yeah.
that you have sufficient influence and input over what this is, over someone who doesn't know anything about it. Because it's just a day 100% and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's not have any unicorns here.
Mhm.
So how do you, in terms of, how do you show someone or you tell someone and explain the value of what you can do for them? And especially in terms of if you could use the succession, in terms of definition of success, whether it's a particular metric you use it to come back to revenue or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
I think it depends on the company big time.
Mhm.
So I think we've worked with two types of companies: product-based companies and service-based companies. So for product-based, you want to define success in does that mean more conversions for the product? Is that that new feature, does that bring in more people? Does that bring more value added? It might not necessarily directly impact conversion, but it brings more value added services that down the road can be added on for an additional service, let's say, or additional cost. Service-based companies, we want to increase results within, like, whether that's more efficient service, a better quality service, and how that works within like a consultant agency, let's say. I think one of the biggest things is around, closing the loop on time to close a deal, let's say. So I think it really depends on the type of company, and then looking within that company of what metric we're actually trying to move the needle on. So I don't think there's like a clear, this is, yeah.
But I guess putting on a little bit of a sales hat, it's really trying to show them that, again, it's not really just costing them anything, it's more of an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's the return on investment is the additional sales that you'll get, and each client will be a little bit different. So